వెల్కమ్ టు హర్షిత్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ యూట్యూబ్ ఛానల్. ఏపీ మరియు తెలంగాణలో బెస్ట్ కాంపిటేటివ్ ఎగ్జామ్స్ యూట్యూబ్ ఛానల్గా ప్రజెంట్ హర్షిత్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్ డెవలప్మెంట్ అవుతుంది. అలానే మంచి మొబైల్ యాప్ కాంపిటేటివ్ ఎగ్జామ్స్కి హర్షిత్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూట్, దీంట్లో ఫ్రీగా అన్నీ ఉన్నాయి, చూసుకోండి.
Good morning. Today's class is about introduction to disaster management. Right. Before going to the concept of disaster management or checking about the things with disasters, let's check for India's scenario. What does India's scenario does mean that? So India's geoclimatic conditions as well as its high degree of socio-economic vulnerability makes it one of the most disaster prone countries in the world. So its geoclimatic conditions and high degree of socio-economic vulnerability makes it one of the most disaster prone country in the world. That does mean, so what are the geoclimatic conditions and what are the socio-economic vulnerability that India do have? So having various climatic conditions, so there are regional differences in different there are climatic differences in different regions, and having high grade of population, having a vast population which is more than 135 crores even, and having high economic vulnerability. That does mean the most number of people who used to live in the poor sections of the country has made it one of the, these are the reasons which made India to be one of the most vulnerable countries which are more disaster prone in the world. Now let's go for the concept of disaster. What does disaster does mean? A disaster is an extreme disruption of functioning of the society that causes widespread human loss, material loss, and environment loss. Human loss, material loss, and environmental loss that exceeds the ability of the affected society to cope up with its own resources. I'll come back again. A disaster is nothing but disruption of functioning of the society that causes human loss, material loss, and environmental loss, which exceeds the ability of the affected society to cope up with its own resources. So when at all a disaster got affected, the losses will be regarding human wise, the losses will be material wise, and there will be a loss even to the environment also. So in general terms, disaster can be defined in such a way. In generally, disasters can be classified into two types. What are they? Disasters are generally classified into two types. They are: one, natural disasters; second one, man-made disasters. So what are the things that comes under natural disasters and what are all the things that comes under man-made disasters does mean? So all the disasters that took place because of the natural phenomenon. What is a natural phenomenon? Natural phenomenon like cyclones, earthquakes, landslides, floods, and the disaster that has caused because of these things comes under natural disasters. Now what are man-made disasters? Man-made disasters are that kind of disasters which took place because of the human negligence. So in general terms, what are the things that can come under human negligence? All of us know that the negligence can be of pollution wise, the negligence that has happened because of the wars, and the negligence by nuclear explosions. So these are all the things which can come under man-made disasters. So these are the bifurcation of disasters. Now let's check for the original definition of disaster. So we have discussed what is disaster in general terms. Now let's discuss What is a disaster? Definition. Disaster is an event or series of events that gives rise to casualties and damages or loss of property or causing loss to the livelihood on which are beyond the natural capacity of the affected community to cope up with. So that does mean, again when we get back to the definition of it, it is an event or series of events which gives rise to casualties and damage or loss of production to infrastructure and loss of environmental losses and loss to the assets and loss to the essential services, which does includes the livelihood of all the people on such a scale that exceeds the ability of the affected society to cope up with its own resources. This is the original definition which we can give for disasters. So there are even many definitions which has been given by international or global organization. UN itself, the United Nations itself has gave definition for disaster. So what is the definition that United Nations has given for disaster? A disaster is a kind of, the United Nations itself gave a definition about disasters. What is that? India's geoclimatic conditions and its high degree of social economic vulnerability we have discussed, and the definition that United Nations has given is that the occurrence of a sudden or major misfortune which disrupts the basic fabric, and normal functioning of the society and community. I'll get back again. The definition that has been defined or that has been made by United Nations were: a disaster is a grave occurrence of sudden or major misfortune that disrupts the basic fabric of the society, that disturbs the basic fabric of the society and normal functioning of the society or the community. This is a definition that has been made by United Nations. And even there has been a definition which is defined in the NDM Act 2005. What is NDM Act? The DM Act. The Disaster Management Act 2005, which has been made an act in 2005, has even gave a definition in regardance with disaster. So what does it say? It says that it is a catastrophe, a mishap, a calamity, or an occurrence in any area that are existing from the natural things or man-made causes by accident. So if that takes place by an accident which is of human negligence and which causes a human suffering or damage to the local livelihoods or damage to the local infrastructure, and that even damages the environment, and the degradation of environment is of such a way, the nature and the magnitude will be the beyond of the capacity of the affected area, and it will be in no position to cope up with its own resources. This is the general definition which has been given in the Disaster Management Act 2005. And there are even definitions which are provided by the World Health Organization and even by the Central Home Ministry also. So India's Union Home Ministry along with the World Health Organization also gave their own definitions to disasters, right? This is what disaster can be defined as. Now, Now, when taken for the origination of disaster, we can trace. Now let's check for the origin for disaster. The word disaster took its origin from the French. So in French, disaster has been called as disaster. Disaster. So this is a syllable of des and astre. So in French, des does mean bad, astre does mean star. So the general meaning for disaster is evil or bad star, or bad or evil star in French. When taken for its origin, this is the thing. Now, when checked for the combination, or when checked for the resultant disaster, what are the things that gets combined in order to form a disaster? Now, it is said that a disaster is a result from the combination of hazard, vulnerability and insufficient capacity, or the measures to rescue the potential of risk. What is that? A disaster is a combination of hazard, it's a combination of vulnerability and then insufficient capacity, or the measures to be taken to reduce the potential chances of risk. So disaster is a combination of all these things. And to say that a disaster happens when and only a hazard impacts on the vulnerability population. I'll get back again. A disaster takes place only when a hazard impacts the vulnerable population, which further causes damage to the properties, which causes casualties, and which also results in the disruption. When at all an hazard meets the vulnerable population, it leads to the damage of the property, casualty is nothing but human loss, and the disruption. That does mean disturbing the functioning of the society. All this resultant results in the disaster. Got that? A disaster happens in such a scenario. Now, let's take an example for the events that can be named as disaster. Let's take a scenario. All of us know the word natural hazards. So what are natural hazards? All the earthquakes, tsunami, floods, cyclones, they do come under the section of natural hazards. Among all these hazards, let's take an hazard as an example. And let's check when it be called as a disaster and when it is not called as a disaster. Right? For example, let's take earthquake. Earthquake. So, we will have two different scenarios. Now, an earthquake affecting an inhabited desert. Earthquake affecting an inhabited desert, and an earthquake affecting an high or low populated areas. A natural hazard like earthquake, if took place in an inhabited desert, will be one scenario, and an earthquake affecting the highly populated or lowly populated areas is the other scenario. If an earthquake affected an inhabited desert, it cannot be called as a disaster. no matter how stronger the intensities are produced. An earthquake which affects an inhabited desert will never be considered as a disaster, no matter how strong the intensities are produced. I hope all of you are aware of the earthquakes that takes place in the Hindu Kush mountains. Hindu Kush mountains, they almost exceed 6.5 plus on the Richter scale. Even though they crosses it, the intensities that are produced because of 6.5 which is shown in the Richter scale, but as it is an inhabited place, however the intensities are produced of any scenario, it will never be considered as a disaster. Let's check for the another scenario. If an earthquake affecting an highly populated or low populated areas, then it will be definitely considered as a disaster. The reason is that it is affecting the people, their properties and their activities. So it is causing casualties, it is causing damage to their properties, which in further disturbs their normal activities. Hence, this scenario can be called or can be named as a disastrous thing. This is how we name any kind of hazard which is to be a disaster or which is not a disaster. If at all the hazard that took place will shows a kind of intensity over the people, over the population habited area, then it will be considered as disaster. However, the intensities that are produced because of the hazard, it will be never considered as a disaster when at all they took place in an inhabited desert areas. So from this particular scenario, we can withdraw or we can make a statement that disasters will happen only when hazards meet the vulnerable population. Whenever the hazards meet the vulnerable population, that does mean when at all hazard meet the vulnerability, then we can say that it is a disaster. So we have been hearing the words hazards, vulnerability, capacity and risk. When taken for their exact definition, are they required? The question is that are they required? Yes, they are of requirement that in order to get acknowledged about the disaster completely, we should have a complete knowledge about hazard, vulnerability, capacity and even risk also. Right? Now, what is hazard? All of us generally know that what is a hazard. And most of us know that a hazard is a kind of thing that happens because of the nature things, and they were called as nature hazards, natural hazards. And the if hazard, that does mean it is a kind of dangerous condition or an event that is causing damage to the property, that is causing environmental damage and that is causing lives of the people, then it can be called as a hazard. In defining it in a right way, it is a dangerous condition or an event that threat or have the potential of causing materialistic losses, damage to the, that does mean damage to the property, that have the capacity of damaging the environment and that has the capacity of causing injuries to the life, then it can be called as hazard. So when taken for the origin of hazard, hazard can be traced back to two different regions regarding its origin. In Old French, it is called as hazard. In Old French, it is called as hazard. When taken in Arabic, this is Hazard in French origin. When taken for Arabic, it is named as azar. What is that? Azar. That does mean the meaning of, this is in Arabic, the meaning of azar is chance or luck. So when taken for its origin, it can be traced back to Old French language and it can also be traced back to Arabic. Right. When taken for the bifurcation or when taken for the classification of hazards, we generally classified hazards into two types. One is the natural hazards. Second one is man-made hazards. So most of us do have an approach what are natural hazards, and most of us know what are natural hazards, and most of us even know what are man-made hazards. All of us know the things like earthquakes, tsunami, floods, cyclones, etc. can be called as natural hazards. When at all you check for the scenario of man-made hazards, generally the man-made most important hazard is pollution. Pollution of all types. Air pollution, water pollution, includes soil pollution also. Along with it, wars, nuclear explosions, etc. will come under man-made hazards. This is the classification of hazards. And there was one more classification for hazards. The natural hazard or the man-made hazard are the classification as per the definition of the hazard. But when taken for the duration of hazard, it is again classified into two types. Based on duration, it is again classified into two types. One is rapid onset hazard. Second one is slow onset hazard. One is rapid onset hazard, second one is slow onset hazard. So first of all, what is rapid onset hazard? If at all any kind of hazard takes place and it continues for a long period of time or short period of time, if at all they took place on a sudden and the impact which may go on for a slow period of time, it can be called as rapid onset hazard. So, earthquake, tsunami, can be taken as examples for rapid onset hazards. Whether they take at any point of time, they will not, the duration will not be more. That does mean the impact that creates, the duration of the impact will not be very high. It is generally confined to weeks, days or months. Not even months, they are generally confined to days and weeks. Now what is slow onset hazard? If at all any kind of hazard takes place and that continues for weeks, months and years, then it is going to be called as slow onset hazards. The examples were drought, famine. When we take for the example of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they comes under slow onset hazards. even though the hazard has took place at a particular point of time, they got affected heavily for a very long period of time. And it is even said that they do affect every day as of current scenario also. The impact that has got created will comes under slow onset hazard. When at all we check for the rapid onset hazard, we can take for the earthquakes, the destruction they causes. They might continue for a days or they might continue for weeks, and again there will be a normal human activity that we are in a position to restore ourselves back again, until and unless it is a disaster. Here we are not discussing about the disaster, we are discussing about hazards only. A disaster is a kind of thing which exceeds the limit of hazard. Got it? This is what all about hazards. Now let's check for the second parameter in understanding the concept of disaster. What is the second parameter in understanding the disaster is vulnerability. I hope most of you guys were aware of the word vulnerable, and we regularly use the word vulnerable in our daily lifestyle or in our daily things. We generally use the word vulnerable. So when taken for the definition of the vulnerability, it is defined that the extent for which a community or a structure or a geographical area is likely to get damaged or likely to be damaged on an account of their nature construction, and because of the particular hazard, on account of their nature construction, on proximity to the hazardous terrains or a disaster prone area. I'll get back once again. The extent for which a community structure, services or geographical area is likely to be damaged or disrupted by the impact of particular hazard on account of their nature, and does mean the nature of their construction and their proximity, that does mean their vulnerable nature to get the link they do have with the hazardous terrains or the area they are living, which might be a disaster prone area. So vulnerability does mean, in simple terms, to say the potentiality of being affected because of emotional things or because of physical things. This is the general definition which we use for vulnerability. So the system of being affected physically, either physically or emotionally, we generally use for the word vulnerable. But when taken for the definition of vulnerability, its definition is as said now. The extent for which a community or a structure or a similar geographical area is likely to get damaged, which is disrupted because of the construction, the nature construction or the proximity of terrain areas, or they living in disaster prone areas. This is the definition for vulnerability. When taken for the classification of vulnerability, we classify vulnerability into two types. One is the physical vulnerability, second one is socio-economic vulnerability. What is the physical vulnerability? Physical vulnerability is nothing but the proximity of the people living in an disaster prone area and getting affected because of the hazard, or because of getting impacted because of any hazard or disaster, when they are more prone to get affected regarding their constructions, regarding their structures, regarding their natural constructions. This can be called for physical vulnerability. What is socio-economic vulnerability? In simple terms, to say regarding physical vulnerability, the proximity of being affected with the constructions, that does mean buildings, roads, all these things, when they are being affected, then it can be called as the physical vulnerability. Now, what is socio-economic vulnerability? When at all any kind of disruption takes place, if it affects the normal activities of the people, which brings a drastic change in their economic activities, does mean causing damages to their houses, doesn't mean that they aren't being damaged. If any kind of house they are living, if any kind of structural building they are owning, if they get lost with it, then we can say that there is an economic loss, and because of these conditions, the vulnerable things, socio-economic vulnerability does mean that the people that are being affected of an hazard not will be only in physical terms, it will be also in socio-economic terms. That does mean the physical vulnerability does not merely explain for the intensity of the hazard, it is that the socio-economic vulnerability, that does mean the people that has got affected socially and economically also defines the intensity that has been produced because of an hazard. Let's take for the 2000, all of you, in 2001 there was an earthquake in Bhuj area in Gujarat. Let's take this as an example. Bhuj, 2001. So, I told you, socio-economic vulnerability also explains for the intensity of the hazard, how it has been, right? When taken for the Bhuj earthquake of 2001, it is that people who are living in Bhuj areas and the people who are living in the border areas, when checked for the impact of the earthquake, the people who are living in the inside areas of Bhuj has got affected more than compared to the people who are living in the border areas, because the social vulnerability of the people or the population that are living inside the Bhuj areas were more than compared to the people who are living in the border areas, right? An earthquake which took place in Gujarat can be taken as a better example of this vulnerability. That does mean if a particular section of people, they are more compatible of being affected. That does mean as the inside areas are highly populated, it is that the people who are living in the inside areas, because of that earthquake, most of the people has got died and most of them has been thrown out of their livelihood and their daily activity than compared to the people who are living in the border areas. This is what all about vulnerability. Now let us check for the next parameter. Now we have discussed about hazard, we have discussed about vulnerability. Now let's check for the third parameter of hazard. What is that? Capacity. All of us know the word capacity in general terms, but when taken for its definition in the disaster aspects, it can be defined as the resources, that means, and the strengths which are in the households and the community and which are enable them to cope up or withstand or to get prepared for in order to prevent, mitigate and quickly recover from a disaster can be termed under the word capacity. I'll get back again. Capacity can be defined as the resources, the means and the strengths which exist in the households and the communities and which enable them to cope up with, and withstand and even prepare for the, prevent, mitigate that required or quickly enable the resources from a disaster. Hope you got the point. That does mean the capacity that a particular area has, it means of preventing or mitigating herself, that does mean that particular area at a particular hazard can comes under the definition of capacity. Now, capacity is also of two types. One is the physical capacity and the second one is socio-economic capacity. Physical, second one is socio-economic capacity. What is physical capacity? So, if at all any kind of hazard takes place, it is that, let's take for floods or let's take for the cyclones, it is that most of the agriculture, most of the people that are living in India were on agro based. All of us know that agriculture has been the backbone of India's GDP. Now, when taken for the physical capacity, when at all any hazard takes place, let us take the example of cyclones or floods. It is that farmers are the people who are more vulnerable to get affected because of this particular hazard. Right? So, when taken for the physical capacity for any hazard, if at all they lost their agriculture also, I mean their cultivation what they has made, which are under harvesting or which are about to reap, they will be losing only that particular cultivation which has made in that particular year or the cultivation they had during that particular hazard only. That does mean they can, I mean the skill they had, they can move out to the other place and they will be in a position and they have their capacity to retrieve themselves back. So it is that the physical capacity does mean even though the cultivation that has been made in that particular year has got affected also, the skill that the farmers do have in general will enable them to shift to the other places or to migrate to the other places, and they have the capacity to retrieve back the same kind of agriculture because the skill they do have already, right? Now, when taken for the socio-economic capacity, in general, socio-economic capacity does mean that we have different sections of people living in our society who are having, who we generally bifurcate into three classes: rich class, poor class and the middle class. So, when at all any hazard takes place, rich people, their socio-economic conditions will never get disturbed or will never get disrupted. It is that the middle class people or the low class people who are highly vulnerable of getting affected in socio-economic aspects. That does mean the rich class people has the capacity. So even though they got lost with their buildings or anything, the backward they do have will enable them a new capacity of rebuilding themselves in regarding with the rich people. When taken with the poor people, they will be deprived out of the food and bed what they have at that particular point of time. They are in no way, I mean I was telling in the socio-economic terms, the rich class can cope up with and the lower class and most of the lower middle class will not be in a position to cope up with. So at this particular point of time, I would like to make a statement that hazards are prevalent in common. They happen in common. They are prevailing in common area, I mean in uncommon times. So they are very prevalent in common things, but a hazard will be a thing which affects in high range of values when at all there was high vulnerability and insufficient capacity. So a disaster is more likely to get affected when there was high vulnerability and there was insufficient capacity. This is what all about capacity. When checks for the next parameter, it's not even a parameter, but let's take it. What is the risk? What is the risk that generally do have? What is risk does mean? It is the measure of expected loss due to a hazard event acquiring, that happened in any particular given area over a particular period of time. I'll come back again. it is a measure of expected losses due to a hazard event occurring in a given area over a particular period of time. That does mean when taken for an area like X, and if at all the damage or if at all the expected losses that has happened because of an hazard or a likely event over a specific period of time Y, then it can be called as the risk. At a particular point of time Y and at a particular given period of, particular area of X, the measure of expected loss can be called as the risk. Generally the risk can be, it depends upon, risk depends upon risk generally depends on nature of the hazard, second one regarding the vulnerability of the elements, vulnerability of elements, third one the economic value of those particular elements, economic value of those elements. Elements might be houses, buildings, lives, environment, all the material thing, all the environmental laws, all the nature laws, all the materialistic laws do comes under these elements when we check it for. So all risk always depends upon the nature of the hazard, vulnerability of the elements, economic value of those particular elements. So from all these points we can withdraw a formula that the risk of getting a disaster depends on so this is likely to happen. The risk depends upon, we all previously discussed that a disaster is more prone to happen when at all hazard meets vulnerability, and if they has a capacity to cope up with its own resources, then risk will be low. If at all they are in no position, the affected society, if it is in no position to cope up with its resources, then risk will be generally high. So when at all we discuss about the things disaster management, it is not that disaster management which we discuss in generally, but it is that we have to discuss about disaster risk management. So that is why when at all we have a general general description or general study about disaster management, it is not that we have to have a study about disaster management, but we have to discuss about disaster risk management, because it includes various measures. It includes, the risk management includes various measures in reducing the disaster, the parameters that happens because of the disasters. What are all the parameters that happens because of the disasters? That means human loss, destruction or disruption of the constructions. All these things will be less when at all we have a study of disaster risk management.